Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Rosado, and this is PROVA Innovations. A bit about myself, I'm a professional engineer and business executive with over 20 years experience across multiple industries. Most notably, I spent the last decade of my career doing what was my dream job in space and aerospace. There, I held various positions across R&D, marketing, and business. In my last role as Director of Corporate Development, I was responsible for setting strategy, raising financing, and leading M&A. I also have governance experience, currently serving as Vice Chairman on the Board of Directors for TEED. TEED is a local non-for-profit that provides therapy for children and adults using horses. So how does one go from space to medtech? Well, the story begins 7 years ago with the birth of my son, Samuel. Shortly after Samuel was born, he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy, or CP, is an acute brain injury that occurs in young children. It is a neurological disorder affecting body movement and muscle coordination. It is the most common physical disability affecting children, affecting 17 million children worldwide. Treatment for this condition is lifelong and multifaceted, often requiring multiple therapies, surgeries, and the use of mobility devices. Early intervention is paramount as a child's gross motor capacity generally does not improve after the age of 5. Once we knew of Samuel's diagnosis, my wife and I decided that it would be best to put our careers aside and focus on his health and recovery in the developmental years. Along the way, we have met hundreds of children like Samuel and a number of excellent clinicians, many of which would come to later support my endeavors. As you can see, Samuel is doing many different types of therapies, most of which are done at home. Consistent practice is everything here. Through our journey together as a family, we discovered that therapy has the potential to not only strengthen Samuel's muscles, but through consistency has the ability to rewire his brain around the injury. This concept is known as neuroplasticity. But neuroplasticity, if not properly harnessed, can work against us. A similar brain injury in an adult is labeled as a stroke. However, in terms of mobility, adults who have suffered a stroke can make a partial to full recovery, yet we don't see this in young children with CP. They continue to have gait-related issues throughout their lives. This is a true dichotomy. One would expect that the developing brain would have a higher degree of plasticity and be able to recover quicker. The reason for this is that a child has no baseline as to what walking is. They're learning to walk and move in the best way they can, usually compensating for weak or stiff muscles. Unfortunately, by compensating, they're unknowingly locking in poor motor habits, and it's very difficult to change a habit once it's ingrained. It's very frustrating as a parent because in clinic, Samuel behaves differently. His therapist can actually get him to have a normal gait. She does this using her hands or voice to guide him. But as soon as we leave, he reverts back to old habits. She can't actually see how he's really behaving, and it's very difficult to reinforce good form at home, especially when he's at school. As a parent, I found these gaps extremely frustrating, but there is certainly opportunity here for innovation. Last year, with the support of my family, I launched PROVA Innovations. Our focus is to develop a range of therapeutic products that help both children and adults with movement disabilities. Our products are different from others in that they don't focus on strengthening muscles, rather they focus on neural recovery. We plan to develop a suite of products under the banner called Within Stride. Our initial prototype is a wearable shoe cover that measures foot position and delivers sensory cueing or biofeedback. If a patient's movement tracks outside a set point, the device uses small vibrations, lights, and audio cues to guide a patient back to a more normal position. We are miniaturizing the $1 million gait lab while providing the guidance of a virtual therapist on the go. For the first time, healthcare providers will have insight into the behavior outside of clinic through a portal. Patients will be able to gamify parts of their training. This is especially important in pediatrics. You see, therapy, it's hard work. If my son gets a hint of what we're doing is exercise, he shuts down. But if I told him he had to take 20 proper steps to slay the dragon, he'd think that would be pretty fun. In addition, we'll be able to collect this data, use machine learning, and make it available for future medical research.
Here's a demonstration of our prototype. Right now it's in backpack form, but the intent is to miniaturize it to fit all within a flexible form factor such as this. So for this demonstration, I'll show the cueing that a patient would receive if he or she were to into during step. So this would be a normal step, everything is green. And if intoing were to proceed, the user would get a sound and a light, and you might be able to hear the vibration that's taking place. So this would guide the foot back to a more neutral position.
In North America, we estimate that 764,000 people live with CP. The cost of care is approximately $15.3 billion per year, or $1.5 million over an individual's lifetime. That's 5 times higher than the average cost for the able-bodied person. CP is a spectrum disorder, and our products are not meant for everyone. However, we believe 80% of children with CP worldwide would benefit from our products. When we combine this with other gait disorders, we believe our products could be a benefit to 2.7 million children. Although our initial go-to strategy is in the pediatric space, we plan to create future variants for the adult segment, specifically for stroke and Parkinson's, leading to a total serviceable available market of 7.6 million patients worldwide. And we estimate that market to be worth approximately $8 billion. PROVA is marketing within Stride as a premium line. We anticipate an initial market push as the company builds awareness, but expects the line to draw customers rapidly as our products build traction. We will use a number of ways to promote the line. However, we believe that KOLs, publications, and partner associations will have the greatest impact on adoption in the clinical community. Groups that will purchase our products include hospital clinics, healthcare providers, private labs, and caregivers. Locally, we've begun to develop relationships with 2 major municipal hubs in Hamilton and Toronto. We are also looking to form partnerships with local and national distributors. The US and Canadian reimbursement systems are complex and fragmented, as you know. For private insurers, we hope to make the case that there is an opportunity here to reduce secondary complications in the long term. We've begun to develop 4 strategies in each region of operation, but more work is to be done here. It was important for me to validate this market outside of my personal situation. I've spoken to approximately 50 stakeholders, including parents and clinicians. I wanted to understand their treatment needs, willingness to pay, and how comfortable they might be with my solution. I've had very positive feedback, including parents who wanted to be part of the trial. I also concluded that there is likely price sensitivity beyond $1,500 for the device. Although this is a great start, we plan to hire an agency to do a formalized stakeholder assessment. So in 2020, the company plans to raise an initial seed round, followed by hiring its first set of employees to continue our R&D efforts. Late next year, we plan to release a simplified non-medical version of the device to help generate revenue and build out our online platforms. We will also begin the regulatory process for our wearable shoe cover. This includes putting a quality management system in place. We plan to raise funding going forward through Series A, complete trials, regulatory approval, and begin production, with launch in mid-2023. All this being said, the COVID-19 crisis is definitely going to delay the milestones, most likely by 6 to 8 months. The existing standard of care for gait rehabilitation is multifaceted. It involves many different treatments at any one time. Clinicians like to think of it as a toolbox, selecting the tools that they need depending on the patient's needs. Although the competitive environment appears to be saturated, no products focus on neural learning and none offer the combined value proposition of at-home care, biofeedback, and gait analysis. The medical device market, with its high regulation, offers a natural barrier to entry. To date, we have commissioned a professional patent search, filed a patent in the US, and are in the process of filing 2 additional provisional US patents. The current state of art, along with our competitive analysis, leads us to believe that we have freedom to operate in this space. I'd like to introduce you to the team. I'm joined by Emily Bradshaw, my Synapse student, Dr. Jan William Gorder. He is a physician specializing in rehabilitative medicine. He has over 20 years experience as a healthcare professional and researcher treating children with mobility disorders. He is the director of CanChild, a world-renowned childhood disability research center at McMaster University. Ms. Marilyn Wright, a registered physical therapist with Hamilton Health Sciences. She's a clinical advisor, professor, and researcher. And Ms. Sue Schremeyer, an experienced executive with over 2 decades in biopharmaceuticals, where she's led the commercialization of over 20 products. She has worked for a number of companies, but is best known for her role as Director of Marketing for Gilead Sciences. There, from startup, she was responsible for leading the launch of a number of breakthrough therapies in HIV and hepatitis. She also joins me on the T Board of Directors as chair. We are fortunate to be supported by a number of excellent organizations and government bodies. Through Synapse, we hope to broaden our network and make new connections. We're always looking for new partnership opportunities. So PROVA will derive revenue from product sales, online services, and data set licenses. I've modeled sensitivity around a number of timing scenarios, pricing, and traction to derive my business model. With subsequent product introductions, we expect to see traction within a 5-year period and hopefully generating revenues of around 60 million. I've leveraged my design and production experience in aerospace to perform a costing analysis on the products we intend to bring to the market. More work is to be done here against industry norms, then we will amend costs as we find out more. I've been bootstrapping my effort to this point, but we would like to raise approximately 4.7 million in private equity over the next 4 years. Capital raise will finance R&D, marketing activities, attract and retain key talent, and support production and inventory until the company is a going concern. We will continue to search out non-dilutive opportunities that are accretive and, more importantly, synergistic with our strategy. This is actually my first pitch competition. Winning this competition would help me out tremendously to build awareness of what I'm doing and lend a certain degree of credibility to the case that I've presented. Any monetary proceeds will be directed towards the near-term milestones I presented. So that concludes my prepared remarks and the formal part of my presentation. I would be happy to take questions, but in closing, I just want to add a few more comments. I took this picture of Samuel yesterday. He's going to be 7 this year. He's able to take 20 independent steps, but he still uses a walker. When he started to attend grade school, I did a lot of soul searching to try and figure out what was going to be next for me. Do I go back into aerospace or do I do something else? I struggled with this for some time. And the answer was there. I want to build this company, not just for him, but for the millions of children and adults who are suffering from mobility issues like him. I want to build it here in Hamilton. I feel strongly that I can make a difference. With my skill set and my personal conviction, I'm the right person to put a core team together to execute on this vision. This is PROVA Innovations, and we are providing the next step.
Good. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for your presentation and excellent job. Quite a powerful story. My question, when I read the pre-reading information that we were provided, based on what I could understand, because obviously this is a fairly technical pitch, my question immediately went to something I hear often in presentations, whether it's a pitch or otherwise, and that's the future as it relates to artificial intelligence. And I guess you could include Internet of Things, but specifically AI. I guess my question is, what, if any, possible implications, impact, or opportunities does AI present to PROVA?
So absolutely. I'm just going to enlarge the screen here. Okay, so in terms of the product line, I mentioned it here quickly. This research data set, so we're collecting this information off of the shoe, and there's lots of information to collect, so we got to get that right. And a lot of it will be learning. So as we collect that data, we can then apply machine learning. Actually, in the patent, we have it designed in such a way that we're always providing the right amount of cueing that's needed, but we need to learn that over time. So what I'm hoping to be able to say is that for this specific type of disorder and this gait or abnormality, in X amount of steps, I can statistically correct for that. That would be my hope. And also, with machine learning, we would be able to start to dynamically recommend therapies. And I think it will become a very powerful data set for clinicians and researchers.
Okay, and the price point, in terms of reimbursement, has there been any exploration as to whether this is the type of product category that would be reimbursable?
Yeah, so let's look at the price point. I have it here. I just have it in a different spot. It's in business model. So I've done a little bit of work around pricing. So this is a distributor model of where I think I need to be in terms of my costing. But additional work definitely needs to be done. Speaking with private insurers to see if they would fund it. There are some. When I look at the systems in Ontario, funding for example, for an orthotic is through ADP. So there aren't, that's the assistive device program in Ontario. There isn't a direct code for what I'm trying to produce. However, we have variants of this product that could be incorporated directly into an orthotic, and that would be an avenue that I would look at for reimbursement. But we also want to have forward strategies where we start to develop those codes as well in each region. And I think I mentioned in one of the slides where we're looking to either hire or outsource that process to help us navigate. See, I'm on my own right now. It's a team of one. So I'm trying to do the R&D, build the board, de-risk as much as possible. But I've also been very quiet because I haven't had the patent filed yet and the IP locked up. So it's been difficult to go out, with NDAs and trying to protect myself. But it's been difficult to kind of really talk about this from the rooftop. But I have the patent underway, and now I'm ready to kind of scream about what I've got here, because I think it's quite exciting. So definitely more work to be done on the reimbursement side. But I think, when you look at the lifetime cost of $1.5 million to raise a child with CP, if this device is in the price range of it, and there is a natural obsolescence on the child side, but we kind of expect, 2 or 3 versions of this as the child grows up, different shoe sizes and whatnot. That's still minimal cost compared to, what it can be. And you look at all the secondary complications, hip dysplasia, arthritis, pain. If I can prevent some of those, this isn't going to fix everything, but I'm hoping that it can alleviate some of those secondary symptoms.
Right. Okay. Well, good luck, and again, excellent presentation. I'll turn it over to the next judge.
Thank you.
Great. Good afternoon. Again, very, very, very good presentation and inspiring story. Tell me a little bit more about your IP situation. I know you're saying you're in the process of filing, but where are you at with your IP situation?
Yeah, so let's go there. Is it here? It's here. Here. Yeah. So I have the file. I have the patent filed. The IP is quite unique. The device can recognize context, so it knows whether the patient is walking, running, climbing stairs, going down a hill, using an aid, and will adjust the cueing accordingly. So we filed in the U.S. It's underway. It will probably be another 1.5 years before it's granted. I have 2 provisional patents that I'm working on. I have additional, one product for sure, what I would call another blockbuster in the works. I'm not in a position to really disclose it publicly now, but that's what the provisional patent will be about. So again, I would use the proceeds here to file there. The firm that I'm using to help me is Bearskin and Parr, which is also a sponsor of this competition. I use them in industry when I was running the patent portfolio. They managed over 300 patents for us. They were excellent, and I've been very confident in the work that they've done on the patent search, as well as my own individual search. Combined with the marketing efforts, again, I believe I have freedom to operate in this space. A lot of when I was doing M&A and strategy, a lot of it is about timing, right? Getting that timing right when you're bringing a product to market. If you're too late, it's a me too. If you're too early, it just won't build the traction that you need. I believe the timing is now, just based on the research that I'm seeing coming out of academia. I'm seeing a lot of haptic type devices being combined with therapy. In addition, when you look at, we've become very comfortable with wearable devices, right? You see the Fitbit, everyone has that. The groups that are most comfortable are the millennials who are having children now, and adults, and the adult population is living longer, and there's going to have other ailments that go along with that. So I think the timing is at the right place, and we're definitely going to make sure that our IP strategy matches what we're trying to do here. We tend to build a patent wall around this. Of course, that's expensive, and we want to file in the countries in which we're going to operate. So U.S. and Canada, but then there's also select countries in the EU and Asia that I want to be a part of. And I have some connections to my own networks to make inroads into those countries. Specifically, in some parts of Europe, they're a little bit more innovative, and there would be more acceptance or early adopters of some of this technology.
Okay. And my final question, just around, you know, basically scaling up into kind of reaching your peak sales, or you know, as technology, as we all know, moves at a really rapid pace. What are the hurdles for you to maybe move quicker or to get onto the market?
Well, there is certainly a technical aspect that I have to overcome. Like, so the device, the prototype that you saw, there's quite a bit of math that goes into making that work. I shouldn't be the one who's focusing on that. I need to grow the business. So the first milestone really is to get some key talent on board. And I've identified who I'd like to have join. It's just a matter of being able to finance that. In terms of scale, you know, I come from a production environment, so I understand that process and know what's involved in putting things in place. You know, space itself, space and aerospace are very high rel, so they're very akin to the medical field. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
The next judge.
It's Jennifer here. I just have a quick final question. I just wonder if the technology would be amenable to the product having the form factor of a shoe itself, and whether this could be applicable to the athletics industry.
Absolutely. So I've already looked at the elite athletic market, and you've hit on my long-term strategy. So the goal here is to lock this up as a medical device, because that creates a natural barrier and a differentiator for me. But the long-term play to really get this out into distribution is to partner with a major shoe retailer. Right.
And I would just encourage you to think of maybe that as a short-term aspect as well. But very inspiring and interesting presentation. I see lots of foot insoles that measure, but not any that have the biofeedback. So I think you have a really interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right. I mean, this product, which is the insole that we're going to introduce first. I mentioned that the reason I want to put that insole is it's a me too. It's even a licensing opportunity for us, white label, but it will help me generate some revenue and build out those online portals as well. When I go and do my Series A, I'll have some revenue in the bank, and it'll de-risk that case for me quite a bit.
Okay, thank you. We're out of time, but thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay.